Welcome to episode 177 of Radio 815, the podcast dedicated to examining the work of writer-director J.J. Abrams. I'll be your host for this time around. My name is Marcelo Inostroza, joined as always by my fellow co-host, Matt Crandall. And on today's edition of the show, we'll be wrapping up the one and only season of the Undercovers. Today, we'll be focusing on what is the series finale, the episode entitled The Reason. So, Matt, do you want to go to Dubai with me?
It's funny because they do mention the Burj Khalifa in this episode. Well, it didn't air, but if it had aired, it would have been a year before Ghost Protocol came out. So obviously Bad Robot was already working on, Ghost Protocol was already filming at the time, but it was funny that they mention the Burj and it would be such an integral part of Bad Robot Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol a year later. But here we are, episode 13. Didn't air, only on DVD, only on Tubi where we watched it. And for the last couple of weeks, because I'd never seen this and you hadn't seen the show prior, we've been speculating. Did they get the call that they were ending and that it wasn't going to be picked up? Was this just like a mid-season finale and they were hoping for a back nine? Like, what was the scenario? Well, they didn't get any fucking call because this is not a series finale. This is a mid-season finale. They thought they were maybe going to get picked up for a back nine because most of the stuff doesn't really resolve. Most of this episode is just a standard episode, and the reason from the title is so underwhelming and doesn't actually get wrapped up. That I was pretty frustrated. I was like, man, I should have checked a wiki, or I should have Googled, did they know Undercovers was canceled? No, they didn't. Because then I would have known that we were heading towards a show that thought it was going to have more. But for some reason, I got it in my head that like maybe they got the call around episode 7 and they were able to retool it. But no, that is not what happened at all. Because nobody gets like a fond farewell. Like when Hoyt exits this and knowing now that it's his last scene, I was like, that was his last scene? What the hell? So a lot of this left me frustrated. But that being said, this is an entertaining episode and it does have a lot of fun espionage stuff. And we do get some answers while they still left a lot vague because they thought they were coming back for more. How did you feel, Marcelo, knowing now that obviously they did not know this was the end of the show?
This episode was very underwhelming to me for the reasons that you mentioned and some other ones too, because I really think that the Blooms were used as pawns in this entire thing. For the CIA to use the Blooms as pawns to get to someone else, and that someone else being Samantha's professor, the individual that brought her into the CIA in the first place, I found a little convenient. The other thing that in the back of my head, I want to say it made me frustrated, but if I'm being honest here, it kind of made me chuckle and it kind of made me laugh because I had mentioned last week, if we find out that the reason, or if we find out in some way that the reason has something to do with a shady organization, and I mentioned SD6. Well, when Sam is told directly by her professor, the individual that the CIA are chasing and want to get a hold of, Sam's professor tells her that inside the CIA there's a smaller splinter group led by the guy Harry Kelvin, and I go, that is oddly similar to SD6. Now, I don't know if that's what the undercover writers were thinking, but I'm like, that's too much of a coincidence to be by accident.
It does smack of Arvin Sloan sort of machinations. The thing that just kind of bugged me was if Schilling faked his own death to get away from this splinter cell led by Kelvin, why would he fall for this thing? Because even when he shows up to Samantha, he's like, I know you were used as bait and we got to get you out of here because they're just after me. And I'm like, well, then why did this guy even show up? Just get on a cell phone and tell Samantha, I'm still alive. This is all because of this. Like, this could have been an email and you wouldn't have put yourself in danger. So it made no sense that it was a face-to-face meeting and that, okay, yes, he faked his death. So maybe Samantha wouldn't have believed it was him, but she got that text message and believed that it was him based on their code that they used. So I just don't know. It long game terms, it doesn't make sense that like this super spy who is dangerous to the organization would risk it just for his favorite student who he hasn't seen in 5 years. So I found that a little bit frustrating. And then, of course, we've got the duality of we don't know who's telling the truth by the time this is all over. Samantha tells us, Schilling wouldn't lie. So if he tells me there's a splinter cell and Kelvin is the problem, I have to believe it. But then we've got Gerald McCraney saying, no, this dude's unhinged. We knew he was around. He was killing agents. He was killing good guys. So like he's fallen off. He is actually the problem, not us. Now, of course, the fact that Kelvin is being played by Alan Dale makes me think he's evil. But maybe it was going to be like a Bad Robot reversal where if the show kept going, we would then learn that maybe Schilling was actually, brainwashed and fallen off the reservation and doing things that he shouldn't be doing, not for the greater good. So maybe they were going to try and pull a fast one on us. And, again, I didn't think the last time we saw Lizzie was actually going to be the last time because I kept thinking that they got the call. And of course, no mention of the sister. Leo is still, gone. And now it's maybe like, maybe they knew that they needed to trim the budget to try and get that back 9. And so they were like, Lizzie and Leo are gone. And NBC, if you give us the back 9, we can make this show cheaper because we have less characters. But it didn't really pan out. And it feels like Alias and Mission Impossible stuff for the mentor fakes his death, then gets lured out. But I just didn't believe the lure because Sam and Steven have been in stickier situations earlier in the season. So if that was the end game, was drawing this guy out so that he would help Sam in some way, what about the time she was tied to a chair in a tower and was going to be executed and like nobody blinked? And then it was like, this I didn't really feel was that much of a threat, because they get arrested, but they escape. And, them being arrested was all part of the CIA's plan. But I kept thinking if they were going to thwart it so easily, then that wouldn't draw your guy out. And then if your guy gets drawn out, why wouldn't he have been drawn out earlier when they were actually in like life or death trouble, not just like inconvenient plot trouble?
I do believe that Schilling cares for Samantha, but I do believe that his caring for Samantha only goes to a certain point. And I do believe that if we are to believe Kelvin that Schilling is unhinged and kind of crazy, he would want to get Samantha on his side, and he would want to sway the Blooms, at least Samantha, against the CIA and against Kelvin. But I'm with you. Like it makes no sense for Samantha, who has been in stickier situations before. Why didn't Schilling show up then? Here's an idea. If Kelvin wanted Schilling so fucking bad, and if he knew he was unhinged so fucking bad, why didn't he send the Blooms after Schilling in some mission where they concoct this whole thing, they give Schilling a code name, and then have the Blooms go and get him?
Or even bring them in right off the bat if he was going to use evidence like, we find out that Schilling murdered a few agents.
Right.
And if they had said to Samantha, like, he faked his death and now he's been on a killing spree, we need you to be bait to try and bring him in because he has lost it. I don't know that she would say no right away from what we know. Obviously, this guy's important to her, but him coming in or being out of the wind would kind of be important, I think, even if she wasn't sure. But
Mhm.
I just feel like that being the thing that brought them in for 13 episodes worth of adventures is very thin.
Yeah, no. It's paper thin if you really think about it, and I'm really disappointed with the way that the Blooms acted after Samantha talked to Schilling and Steven got shot and almost killed. Because to me, the Blooms have been, you know, uh, if you ever cross us again, CIA, we're fucking out. And the way that Samantha acts after encountering her professor, her mentor, she spins a story for him and she says, I think, well, she didn't say this, but she sort of intimated, I think we should stay in so I could find the rat from within the agency. And I'm like, really? You want. But listen, I know that now it was like a mid-season finale. So we have established that the writers didn't know that they were going to get canceled. But if they did have some inklings, they should have closed. They should have closed the loop because they didn't close anything. They answered the big question or the MacGuffin who Calvin is and why the Blooms were brought back. But they did that. But along with doing that, they opened up these other branches of questions that we will never get answers to, unfortunately. And it just fucking sucks.
Yeah, it does. And as you said, there is a point where Sam's like, we're out. And then she kind of realizes, like, oh, maybe we have to keep doing this so that we can figure out what the truth is and work both sides. And it does feel like when Sydney Bristow finds out that SD6 is not what she thought it was, and she's going to be a double agent working with the CIA and SD6. And it's like, okay, they realized that the show wasn't gaining traction, so they were then going to maybe make this more serialized and more important going forward. But again, too little too late. And just the fact that, Shaw, it's frustrating because Shaw, we know, likes the Blooms and he's been wanting to tell them. And Kelvin's been like, we can't tell them. And then there's a scene between Kelvin and Shaw where Kelvin's like, I need your phone. All this stuff's going down and we can't have you getting too attached to the Blooms and tipping them off. And I know that you get attached to people. And he's like, I don't give a fuck about the Blooms. And I'm like, nobody is buying this. We've watched the show, and even Kelvin shouldn't be buying this. I didn't believe that for a second that he thought that Shaw was telling the truth, but we don't have any time to actually deal with that. So nothing comes of that deception. And does Kelvin know that Shaw is full of shit in that moment? And even Shaw doesn't actually go out of his way to do much because Hoyt kind of acts as the go-between to try and figure out what's happening. But I was frustrated that Shaw couldn't have reached out and sent a message because we know that he should be on Team Bloom at this point because he's dealt with them enough. And obviously the Kelvin stuff isn't shaky. So even if this was a mid-season finale, there's so much more I would have done to make sure that people tuned in for that, winter premiere that would have raised the stakes and felt like the characters were acting like the characters we've watched for 13 episodes instead of we want to leave a lot of intrigue and dangling plot lines. So some people are going to act a little bit out of the norm. And even when Steven gets shot, I was already convinced they didn't know. So I was like, I never thought he was actually going to die or that it was even worrisome. And even they, by the end, he's awake and he's talking and he's out of the woods and it's fine. And I was like, man, even if it was a mid-season finale, you got to have Sam sitting with him and the monitor flatlines and then we fucking close.
Or you could have closed with her looking through the operating window.
Yeah, I just, it was so confounding because as a series finale, not functional at all. But even as a mid-season, I was like, there's so much more they could have done to really make us want to come back to this.
I really, really like your take on letting the audience know why the Blooms were brought in, were brought back into the CIA in the first place if the writers would have let the audience know that in the beginning and revealed that the main reason that they wanted the Blooms to come back is because they thought Samantha's mentor was dirty. I like that idea because you could have you could ride that idea out for like 6 episodes and then you could turn it on its head and you can use Calvin to turn it and you can make Calvin the true villain.
Right. And I think even they really could have played into if, 4 episodes ago, we had a scene where Shaw and everybody are saying like, the whole reason the Blooms are here is to draw Schilling out. Samantha Bloom's thought dead mentor. Like, we need him. He's the important piece of information that we need. And then we could have played with the dramatic irony when he reaches out to Sam, and Sam could have thought that she's doing something good. And then we as the audience would know, like, she's actually playing into Kelvin's hands, and this is exactly the reason they've been brought back. And she wouldn't have known that her reaching out to Schilling and trying to do something was actually the wrong thing because it was going to lead to the bad guys winning. And I think that, like, that dramatic irony would have been really entertaining and enjoyable if they had tipped their hand a little bit earlier so that we could see as Samantha thought she was doing something good and ends up, almost destroying everything by bringing this guy in unbeknownst to him and like getting him into the mousetrap. I think that would have been kind of cool.
That would have been fantastic, but I also want to address I want to address one more point that you brought up, right? You brought up that that Shaw was so sort of haphazard when he spoke to Calvin, and you were kind of wondering, or you were kind of angry that we're not going to see the scene when Calvin realizes that Shaw is full of shit and that he is on the Bloom side, and the fact that Shaw can't get in touch with the Blooms after he is told by Calvin to cut off all communication lines between him and the Blooms is a bunch of bullshit. Because, guys, have you ever heard of burner phones? You cannot tell me that Shaw doesn't have a stack of those fucking somewhere. So the scene when the scene when Hoyt comes up to Shaw in the bar and Shaw just tells Hoyt to keep him apprised, I'm like, bullshit. You should plan for contingencies like this. It didn't ring true to me that Shaw was so lapdoggy to Calvin. It didn't make sense. He knew why the Blooms were being brought in, and he doesn't seem like a guy to suffer fucking fools.
Well, and maybe it's too cliche or tropey because what I was expecting, after I said that scene where like we don't see Kelvin kind of call on Shaw and say like, I know that you care about these people and that you're going to try and help them. I thought that the meeting with Hoyt, Shaw was going to either reach out explicitly or do something that would clearly be him trying to help the Blooms, and that Kelvin would then be there to catch him in the act and like arrest him. And then we put Shaw in danger where like we know that Shaw is a good guy, and because he was trying to help our buddies, he's now neutralized and kind of fucked. And again, that would be, if this was the mid-season finale, that would be the stuff we would fix in the back 9, but it would throw a big wrench where the point person that the Blooms have been working with is now, arrested for being a traitor. And we're like, whoa, what's going on here? Then that would also let us know that, the Kelvin stuff is not on the level and that Schilling is probably not murdering innocent agents for no reason. And I just feel like it would elevate the stakes, but this is probably all ideas that they wanted to drag out over the 9 episodes that would have completed a 22 episode first season. So I can't, I'm disappointed watching it, but I know why they did this because, again, nowadays we would never do it like this because it would be an 8 or a 10 episode series that first season, everything would end on a cliffhanger, and like we would plow through this amount of exposition in like 5 episodes. So like, it's just because this was back in the day where they really had to pad for those 22 episode seasons. You know, that still happens on some shows, but even a lot of network shows now are only 13 episodes a season on purpose. So TV has changed so much in the, 14, 15 years since it's been on, that it does feel like a past relic, and it's exemplary of a lot of the things that I'm happy are gone because of streaming and shorter seasons, where now we can just tell clear, concise storylines where the characters and the plot momentum are always moving. They're always moving forward, because otherwise we're going to just press exit and watch something else. And I think this show, sometimes you watch a streaming show and you're like, man, this show would have been great if it was a 22 episode season instead of a 8 episode season. But this is like this is the opposite, where it's like, man, if this was a streaming show and it was a 10 episode first season, it would have been dynamite, because we could have cut all the bullshit out, and it really could have been something cool.
Yeah, the only network that seems to be holding on to the old cable model is CBS. But CBS is linear network, the actual cable channel, because CBS, their bread and butter, a lot of their bread and butter is procedural TV shows like with NCIS, CSI, and whatever that. Even those shows have have 22 to 16 episodes. Even those shows that have longer seasons, their storytelling is kind of more modern, because even with their storytelling, it's writing straight to the point, always moving forward. And the second thing that I would do, I would tell the network, okay, you want me to bring the show back, but I need a guarantee. I need a guarantee that at least you'll give me until season 2. I wouldn't do the show, or I wouldn't think about producing the show until the network gave me a guarantee. Because without a guarantee, I ain't going to do it. What do you think about that?
I think you wouldn't be doing it because they are never going to give those guarantees ever again. So many shows now just get unceremoniously dumped after, 4 episodes, and it's
right.
It's wishful thinking to think that somebody would be able to give you a guarantee, which is too bad. But
yeah, here's a better question. I mentioned that I would like a Bad Robot guy to come back and possibly write the reboot of Undercovers. Who would you get?
I wouldn't get Josh Reams. I can tell you that. I'm not sure at this point. I think you would need fresh blood in some way. Because a lot of the people that I would think are people who were veterans on shows that either ended up going south or were too similar. Like anybody who worked on Alias, I think it's going to be too similar to Alias. And, this show was JJ and Josh Reams. And of course, Josh Reams is the guy that they put in charge of the horrible second finale of Felicity. The time traveling future.
Oh God! Wait a minute.
What if stuff? And the dude who worked on the second season of What About Brian? So like, then he does Undercovers, and I'm like, I don't know that it's this guy for me. I'm sure he's continued to work lots. He worked on Dynasty for Josh Schwartz and some stuff. Like, this guy works, but not. When I look at his Bad Robot list, I'm like, whew, boy, this is not the prime time golden age of Bad Robot.
You know who I would get? And this writer, we've talked about this writer before on the podcast. He has pissed us off. He has delighted us, and he has confused us. But he's a writer within the Bad Robot staple that I believe didn't get a true chance, and you're gonna be like, what are you talking about? He took over a specific show. But I'm going to explain that in just a second after I say his name. J.H. Wyman. And the reason why I say he kind of didn't get a full opportunity, considering that he took over for JJ, Alex, and Bob after they left to do Star Trek. He was the showrunner. He was anointed the showrunner, but he had help by Akiva Goldsman and Jeff Pinkner. I would like to see. Now, again, you might say I'm crazy. I would like to see what that guy would. I would like to see what that guy would possibly do with a Undercovers reboot on his own. Not
Right.
Not with Akiva, not with Jeff Pinkner. I want to see what that guy would do on his own. Do you like that, or you think I'm crazy?
It could be intriguing. You know, I'm not a huge fan of the final season of Fringe, and that's kind of J.H. Wyman's baby. And so I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not sure if I am down with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm not sure. And especially the Undercovers idea is kind of generic. That like, even if they were to do an exact copy of this show, you don't even have to call it Undercovers, and you don't have to even call it a reboot, because it's just like a Mrs. and Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of thing, repackaged in a way. The main thing that made this show stand out was the cast, because, you know, Gugu has gone on to have a great career because she's so charismatic and charming. She's been stuck doing a lot of like kind of muddy dramas that don't get to show like this fun side, where in this show she got to be fun, cute, and do like some dramatic stuff and some action. A lot of like, I think she had the horrible storyline on the morning show, and I'm just like, ugh, like I can't believe her talent is being wasted on some of this stuff, but I'm happy that she's still worked. Boris, you know, he was in some Resident Evil movies, and you're like, ugh, but in Undercovers, Steven is charming and great, and they have such a good dynamic, but I haven't really seen him in much else since. And then, of course, Gerald McCraney as Shaw is just the perfect curmudgeonly old guy, but deep down, you know, he's got like a good heart. And then Hoyt, Ben Schwartz, I have been a fan of since he was on Parks and Recreation as one of my favorite characters of all time, John Ralphio. And seeing him here is fun, but he's also continued to work and do like a lot of comedy stuff. So like, he's not hurting. But I think, you know, all those people, that core, really are what set the show apart, but it wasn't enough for audiences to latch onto. And even, you know, I'm certainly not going to mention Leo. I've never seen that guy since, and I'd never care if I do. And Makia Cox, who played Lizzie, is on The Rookie now, playing a totally different style of character, but she's great. So like, they had something and they just never found a way to uncork it with that actress and that character. And so I think when I look back at Undercovers, a show co-created by J.J. Abrams in 2010, after Alias, Felicity, Lost, Fringe, I just think this is a show that on paper, and even when you watch the pilot, has everything going for it. Tremendous cast, good, versatile, familiar concept, and incredible production. Like, that pilot directed looked gorgeous. It felt like an action movie. And then it was just a show that couldn't ever rise to its full potential because it didn't know what it wanted to be. And that now, if somebody were to come up to me on the street and say, should I watch Undercovers on Tubi? I'm going to say probably not. Look, if you have watched every Bad Robot thing and you're looking for something, go for it. But there is much better spy stuff. Even, you know, I still think no matter what happened after, the first 2 seasons of Alias are 2 of like the best spy show shit you can find anywhere. Even when we rewatched it and like some of the shine had come off, still those first 2 seasons, every episode ends on a cliffhanger. All the characters you just fucking love. And then as all the Rambaldi and Irina Derevko shit unfolds, you're just like, my God, this is a work of art. And then, of course, they start doing bullshit like long lost sister and injections that turn you into a zombie and vampire shit. And you're like, what the fuck, Alias? But like, there's no reason. There's no, you know, oh, you got to watch these 5 episodes of Undercovers. No, watch the first one and just enjoy it as like a 1-hour movie, and then just turn it off and just say like, that was it. They got canceled after 1. And I think you'd be doing just as good as you'd be doing better than we are now here at the end of 13. Marcelo, what do you tell the person who says, should I watch all 13 episodes of the first and only season of Undercovers?
You know what? I don't know. Like the only way that I would say yes is if you're somebody like me and Matt who just love Bad Robot in general. But if you're not, if you are used to the way that television, the way that television is made today, and if you are used to that particular style of storytelling, and if you don't want to invest, if you believe that your time is precious, then don't waste your time with this, because nothing is resolved. Because people today who watch TV will wait to hear from the network or the studio to see if season 2 is coming back. With that in mind, that's why I say, unless you're somebody who loves J.J. Abrams or somebody who loves Bad Robot, skip this one and then maybe later come back to it. But I think that this episode to me is more like a novelty to those individuals who love Bad Robot, really putting it into perspective.
Yeah, well, and I think to watch the rare Bad Robot miss, like at the time, most Bad Robot shows got like, you know, a second season, even if it was a short one. To watch one of the ones that didn't, now sitting in 2024 when we're recording this, 2025, if you're listening, you know, Bad Robot has had a lot more shows that only lasted 1 season because of streaming and stuff, but still, a lot of those felt more complete than this does. And just because this is so episodic, there's not like one great contained story within it. I'm not mad that we watched it, but as you know, I'm relieved that we are done. I'm like ready to move on to something hopefully more enjoyable. But I was curious to see how this wrapped up, and now knowing that it did not wrap up at all, I can at least sleep easy, even if I wish I had maybe got those 10 hours back.
I can too, because listen, I said in weeks past, if I wasn't happy with the way that the show wrapped up as a whole, I will take my ball and I will take my victory lap in saying that, hey, a podcast that is dedicated to J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot in general is not missing the Undercovers. We got that.
We got that. And it, you know, to watch one of the Bad Robot missed potentials, you know, it's rare that they kind of have all the ingredients and fuck up the recipe. And I would just say, like, to see that is kind of fascinating. And this, unfortunately for JJ and Star Wars fans, this isn't the biggest, we got all the ingredients and we fucked up the recipe of Bad Robot history, because 2019 really put the shit sundae, you know, the cherry on top of that. But this is as close to like, wow, what happened? They had everything going for them and they couldn't get a shot on net.
On that note, I think this edition of Radio 5 is coming to an end. But listen, guys, if you like what we do here and you want to send us an email with comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email us at radio815@aol.com. If you want to talk to me about anything within the Bad Robot staple, I am available to chat anytime on X or Twitter. I'm at CreekFanatic88. But Matt, before you tell people how they can find you, Will you like to tell them what we have coming up in the weeks ahead here on the show?
So we will next week on the show be talking about the 2024 Apple TV series Presumed Innocent, the first season. As we are going to now take a look at it, it's well known that this is a first season of a show and that there is going to be more. There is going to be a second season. It is based on the Harrison Ford film from the 90s, and J.J. Abrams and David E. Kelley have gotten in there and remixed it and brought it to a modern audience with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ruth Negga. And we're going to take a look at the first season of that starting next week.
All right, guys. And Matt, where can people not find you?
You can log some movies with me on letterboxd.com/MDC3000. And that's about it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. But until next week, as I say often, we'll talk back soon.
Radio 815 is a Balloonhead Productions presentation in association with Killer Newt Productions.